She told me I was suffocating her. Those were her exact words, spoken so calmly it almost didn't sound cruel, just tired. I stood there in our kitchen, my tie still loosened from work, the smell of dinner still in the air, and she said it like she was talking about the weather. Evan, I need space. You're always checking in, always asking how I feel, where I am. It's too much. I remember blinking, trying to understand how caring too much became a crime. The irony was almost funny. Almost. She was packing a small suitcase when I walked into the bedroom. Not a fight, not a discussion, just a quiet decision. I'm staying with April for a bit, she said, folding her clothes neatly, like she was going on vacation instead of walking out of a marriage. I didn't yell. I didn't beg. I just asked for how long. She shrugged. Until I figure things out. That phrase, figure things out, should have told me everything. The first night, the silence was so thick I could almost hear it pressing against the walls. 15 years of shared noise, laughter, arguments, all replaced by the low hum of the fridge and the sound of my own thoughts. By the second night, I sent her a message, "Hope you're okay." It took her 3 hours to respond. One word, "Fine." That's when I realized the distance she wanted wasn't just physical. When she didn't answer my call on Sunday, I sent another message, "Can we talk?" That one got a response fast. "Stop suffocating me, Evan. I'll reach out when I want to." I stared at that message until the screen dimmed. That was the moment I made my decision. She wanted space? She'd get all of it. I muted her notifications, turned off location sharing, deleted her from my emergency contacts, and replaced her with my brother. It was almost ceremonial, like cutting a cord. Then I sat back and waited for the silence to do its work. Funny thing happened. Relief crept in. That night, I slept through until morning for the first time in months. No arguments replaying in my head. No tension in my chest. Just quiet. The next few days were strange but peaceful. I made coffee without anyone complaining it was too strong. I watched a game without someone sighing next to me. I ordered greasy takeout from the place she hated and enjoyed every bite. It wasn't lonely. It was liberating to be by the end of the week. My life had structure again. Work, gym, home. Simple. I even met up with my buddy Ryan after work, something I hadn't done in months. He noticed immediately. "You look lighter," he said, "like a weight's been lifted." I laughed, because he was right. The weight had a name, and she was staying with her friend. The following Monday, my coworker Jenna stopped by my desk. "You're in a good mood lately," she said. I just smiled. Guess I'm learning the power of silence. What I didn't tell her was how freeing it felt not to tiptoe around someone's moods anymore. For the first time in a long time, I wasn't walking on eggshells. I was just existing. Thursday marked 1 week since she left. Her mom texted me, "Everything okay with you too?" I replied simply. She asked for space. "I'm giving it." "Oh," came the reply. She didn't mention that. Of course she didn't. Friday night, Ryan invited me to a bar downtown. Normally, I'd have said no. She never liked me going out without her. But this time, I didn't even hesitate. "I'm in," I said. It felt good to say yes to something for myself. That night, surrounded by laughter and noise, I realized something important. I hadn't thought about her once the entire evening. Not once. And when I finally checked my phone before bed, there were no new messages, no missed calls. Just silence. And it was perfect that I fell asleep smiling for the first time in years. The next morning, I woke up earlier than usual. No alarm, no noise, just sunlight slipping through the blinds. I brewed my coffee, took it out to the porch, and for the first time in years, I didn't check my phone immediately. I just sat there listening to birds and the faint hum of distant traffic. It hit me then how peaceful life could be when you stopped chasing chaos. Work felt easier that day, lighter. My coworkers noticed it too. During lunch, Jenna sat across from me in the cafeteria and said, "Whatever you're doing, keep doing it. You don't look so tense anymore." I smiled but didn't answer. The truth was simple. I wasn't trying to fix anyone but myself. That night, I turned on a movie I hadn't watched in years, one she always said was too boring. Halfway through, I laughed out loud. Not because of the movie, but because I couldn't remember the last time I'd laughed like that alone. It felt strange but good. I realized I didn't miss her voice echoing through the house. I missed the idea of us, the version I thought we were. The real thing had been gone long before she packed her suitcase. By Wednesday, my rhythm returned. Wake up, gym, work, home. Simple, predictable, calm. After work, I met my friend Mark for drinks. He was the kind of guy who could read a room before stepping into it. He leaned back in his chair, studying me. "You're different, man. Last time we talked, you looked like someone who hadn't slept in a week. Now you look free." I nodded. Freedom feels a lot like silence. Mark raised his glass. "To peace, then." We drank, and I meant it. Thursday morning, my phone buzzed with a text from her mom. "Haven't heard from you two lately. Everything all right?" I didn't explain. I just said she needed space. I'm giving it to her. 10 minutes later, another text arrived. "You're a good man, Evan. Don't give up on her." I didn't respond. There was nothing to say. She'd told me to stop suffocating her. I was only respecting her words. Friday came faster than I expected. I left work, stopped at a bar, and met Ryan again. The place buzzed with noise and neon light, the smell of beer and fried food hanging in the air. We sat in a corner booth surrounded by laughter and music. It felt strange to be part of that world again, the one I'd quietly abandoned when my life started revolving around her moods. "You're coming back to life?" Ryan said between sips. "Whatever happened, don't let her drag you back under." I smiled but didn't answer. Saturday morning, I woke up to no messages, no calls, no arguments. I went for a run, came home, made breakfast. Eggs, bacon, coffee strong enough to wake the dead, and felt grateful for the quiet. Later, I went to the grocery store, something she used to complain about endlessly. I wandered through the aisles without a list, picking whatever looked good. No one nagging about carbs or calories, no size behind me. Just me and a cart full of food I actually wanted to eat. That be why the second week, my phone had become eerily still. No texts, no missed calls. At first, it felt strange. Then it felt peaceful. I noticed how much time I had now. Time I used to spend walking on eggshells, guessing what kind of mood she'd be in, or rewriting my own words so they wouldn't spark an argument. I used that time to clean the garage, repair the leaky faucet she'd been complaining about for months, and call my brother, who nearly dropped his phone when I answered. "You're alive," he laughed. "Barely," I said, "but getting there." That weekend, I joined him for a cookout. His wife hugged me like I'd just returned from war. "You look good," she said. "Healthier." "I feel it," I admitted. The laughter, the food, the sunlight, all of it felt like oxygen after years of holding my breath. When I left, my brother clapped my shoulder. "Don't go back," he said. "If she wants to talk, she knows how to find you." I nodded. I'm done chasing. By Monday, it had been 2 full weeks since she left. I started going to the gym again, reconnected with friends, and even began planning a hiking trip, something she always said was a waste of time. That evening, I cooked a real dinner, poured myself a glass of wine, and watched the sun dip below the trees. My phone buzzed once, an unknown number. I ignored it. 10 minutes later, another buzz. Then 3 more. I opened the messages. It was her. The first text said, "Hey." The next one said, "Are you okay?" Then, "Why aren't you answering?" I stared at the screen, unreadable. I'd given her what she asked for, total silence, and now she was trying to break it. I didn't reply. I put the phone down, leaned back in my chair, and smiled. For the first time in a long while, I was in control. The next day started like any other. The morning air felt cool, the kind that wakes you up before the coffee does. I showered, shaved, dressed for work, and left the house in a good mood. On the drive in, I glanced at my phone at a red light. 5 unread messages. All from her. The first said, "Can we talk?" The second was longer, more emotional. "I don't like how distant you're being. This isn't you." The third was angry. "You're really ignoring me now?" I didn't respond to any of them. I had a meeting at 9, and my life wasn't revolving around her anymore. When I finally checked my phone again during lunch, there were 12 more texts. I scrolled through them, each one growing more frantic. "Why aren't you answering? Is there someone else? You're acting heartless." I put the phone face down and finished my sandwich. There was a strange satisfaction in doing nothing, in letting her words echo into the same silence she once demanded. That evening, I hit the gym after work. My body was sore, my head clear. On my way out, I ran into Ryan. "You've been hard to reach lately," he said. "You dating someone?" I laughed. "No, just finally enjoying my own company." He grinned. "That's a dangerous kind of peace. Don't lose it." I nodded. I knew exactly what he meant. When I got home, I poured a drink and checked my phone again. 21 messages now, 3 missed calls. I read the latest one aloud quietly to myself. This isn't fair. I almost laughed. Fair. For years, fairness didn't exist in our marriage. There was only her way, her moods, her rules. I took another sip and turned my phone off. She wanted space. I wasn't about to break the agreement now that it was finally working in my favor. The next morning, the storm had only grown. When I turned my phone back on, notifications flooded in. Dozens of messages, some long and pleading, others sharp and cutting. One said, "I made a mistake." Another said, "You never cared, did you?" And then one more, sent just before dawn. "I can't believe you're doing this to me." I read them all in silence. Then, finally, I typed back 2 words. "You asked." I hit send and went about my day. Work that week was smooth. My boss even pulled me aside after a presentation. "You're sharper lately, Evan. More focused. Keep it up." I thanked him, knowing exactly why. Without chaos at home, my mind could finally breathe. That Friday, Jenna from accounting invited me to join a few coworkers for drinks after hours. Normally, I would have made an excuse. Instead, I said yes. The evening was relaxed, the conversation light. At one point, Jenna looked at me and said, "I don't know what changed, but you carry yourself differently now." I smiled. Maybe I finally stopped apologizing for things I didn't do. Saturday morning, I woke up to sunlight streaming through the curtains. My phone buzzed nonstop. I sighed and picked it up. 47 unread messages, all from her. My first instinct was irritation. Then curiosity won. I opened them. They started calm. "We should talk. Can we start over?" But quickly spiraled. "You're cruel. I can't eat. I can't sleep. How can you act like I don't exist?" And then, I told Belle everything, and she said, "You're being petty." That one made me laugh. I could picture her venting to her friends, expecting sympathy, only to realize she'd created this distance herself that I decided to leave the house. I met Ryan for breakfast at a diner. Over pancakes, I told him about the flood of messages. He shook his head. "She's panicking because she lost control. That's all it is." I knew he was right. For years, she had dictated the emotional tempo. When we fought, when we made up, when we spoke, when we didn't. Now the silence wasn't hers anymore. It was mine. That afternoon, I went grocery shopping, ran errands, cleaned the house. Simple things. Ordinary things. The kind of life that used to feel dull now felt like freedom. I didn't check my phone once. When I finally looked at it that night, there was another dozen messages. I didn't open them. I watched a game, ate leftovers, and fell asleep without a second thought. Sunday morning came with a new surprise, an unknown number calling nonstop. I answered on the fourth try. It was Belle's husband, Matt. "Hey, man, sorry to bother you, but she's been really upset. Keeps saying she can't reach you. She told me not to contact her." I said, "I'm just doing what she asked." He hesitated. "Yeah, but she's not handling it well." "That's not my responsibility," I said, calm but firm. "She wanted distance. She's got it." "Fair enough," he muttered. "Just thought I'd check in." When I hung up, I realized I wasn't angry. I wasn't sad. I just didn't care anymore. That scared me a little. How fast love can turn into indifference when the noise stops. But it also felt right. I'd spent too long apologizing for breathing wrong, caring wrong, existing wrong. Now, I was finally existing on my own terms. That night, I sat on the porch again with a drink in hand, watching the world move on without her chaos clouding mine. My phone sat face down on the table, vibrating occasionally, but ignored. Somewhere between the second and third sip, I realized I wasn't waiting anymore. For her to call, for her to apologize, for her to come home. The silence didn't feel like absence anymore. It felt like closure. Monday morning arrived quiet and ordinary, but something in the air felt heavier. I poured my coffee, scrolled through the news, and ignored the steady vibration of my phone. When I finally looked, there were 87 messages waiting. 87. The first one said simply, "Hey." The next few tried to sound casual. "How have you been? I miss you." Then they shifted. "Why aren't you answering? Are you seriously doing this?" By the end, the tone had turned desperate, full of capital letters and exclamation points. "Answer your phone now." I stared at the screen for a long time. It was almost funny, in a tragic kind of way. For weeks, I'd begged for conversations she didn't want. Now she was the one begging, and I didn't have a single word left to give. I typed back one message. "You told me to stop contacting you." I respected that. What changed? 30 seconds later, she called. I didn't answer. I texted instead. I'm at work. She replied instantly. When can we talk? Later. When is later? When I'm not working. This is important. So is my job. 3 dots appeared, then vanished. For the first time, I felt nothing but calm. At lunch, my coworker Jenna noticed I was quiet. Everything okay? She asked. I nodded. Just wrapping up loose ends. She smiled. You seem unshakable lately. I like it. I didn't tell her what was happening. I didn't tell anyone. It was my storm to manage, and I was finally learning how to stay dry. By 3 p.m., the messages started again, shorter now, more frantic. Please call me. We need to talk. I can't take this anymore. I set my phone face down and finished my workday like nothing was wrong. At 6 p.m., I drove home, cooked dinner, and finally called her. She picked up on the first ring, voice trembling. Where have you been? Working, I said. Then grocery shopping. I've been trying to reach you all day. I know. And I told you I'd call when I could. That was hours ago. And now I'm calling. Silence. Then, softly, I needed to hear your voice. You're hearing it. What else? Why are you being like this? Like what? Cold. Distant. I sighed. You told me to stop suffocating you. I'm just giving you what you asked for. Her tone cracked. You weren't supposed to actually do it. There it was. The truth she couldn't hide. So you wanted me to ignore your words? No. I wanted you to care enough to fight. I did fight. For years. You told me to back off, so I did. She began to cry. I made a mistake. I was emotional. Then you should have chosen your words better. You waited 4 weeks to talk to me. And in those 4 weeks, I found peace, I said. Peace I'm not ready to lose again. We agreed to meet the next day at a coffee shop. She wanted to talk face to face. I wanted closure. When I walked in, she was already there, staring at the door like she'd been counting the seconds. Her eyes were red, her hands shaking. You look good, she said. So do you? I lied. We sat in silence for a moment before she whispered, I miss you. Do you miss me? I asked. Or do you just miss being the one in control? Her face fell. That's not fair. Neither was our marriage, I said quietly. You wanted space. I gave it to you. Now you're angry because I respected you too much to chase you. I thought you'd fight harder. Why fight someone who told me to leave them alone? Because that's what love is, she said, voice rising. People nearby turned to look. I stayed calm. No. Love is listening. Love is respecting boundaries, even when they hurt. What you're talking about is control. Tears spilled down her face. Please, Evan. We can fix this. I leaned back in my chair. Can we? Or are you just afraid of being alone? She didn't answer. And in her silence, I found mine. I finished my coffee, stood up, and said, I hope you find what you're looking for. She grabbed my wrist. Please don't do this. I gently pulled free. I already did. I walked out without looking back. Outside, the air felt cooler, cleaner somehow. The noise of the street replaced the noise she used to bring into every room. For the first time, I didn't feel like a villain or a victim. I just felt free. Over the next few days, the calls kept coming, but I didn't pick up. When she showed up at my office unannounced, mascara streaked, trembling, I calmly told her we'd already said everything that needed to be said. Security walked her out. My coworkers watched in silence, their eyes wide, but I didn't explain. There was nothing to explain. The following day, my boss called me in. Everything okay at home? He asked carefully. It's fine, I said. Handled. He nodded slowly. Good. Because that promotion we discussed, it's yours. I thanked him, but the truth was I barely felt excitement. I was just relieved to be in control of my own life again. Weeks passed. The messages stopped. The quiet returned. One Saturday, I saw her name pop up one last time. Can we please try again? I'll do anything. I stared at it for a long moment, then typed. You wanted to know if I could live without you. Turns out I can. And I prefer it. Take care. I hit send, blocked her number, and set the phone down. Months later, at a friend's barbecue, someone asked if I had any regrets. I thought about it honestly. No, I said. She told me what she wanted. I gave it to her. If she didn't mean it, that's not on me. They nodded, and the conversation moved on. I looked around the yard, friends laughing, music playing, food sizzling on the grill, and felt something I hadn't felt in years. Eased out a year later, I ran into her at a grocery store. She looked tired, older somehow. Our eyes met for a second, and I gave her a polite nod. No anger, no longing, just acknowledgement. She opened her mouth like she wanted to say something, but I kept walking. I didn't need closure anymore. I already had it. Some people learn too late that silence isn't indifference. It's peace earned the hard way. She told me I was suffocating her. I gave her air. All of it. And I never looked back. If you made it this far, don't forget to subscribe, like, and share your thoughts below. Tell me, have you ever walked away and finally learned how to breathe again?